It is finished. These are not the words of someone who is being forced against his will and wants things to be different. No, this death is something that he chose. He wanted nothing other than his Father's plan, the one who sent him on this mission, whatever amount of pain and suffering it would take. He knew the greatest feature of life is to be loved. And there was no greater way to love his Father and his Father's creation than to humble himself, face his fears, and become obedient, even to the point of dying the death of a slave on a cross. This is the way of salvation that he came for. And when he knew that he had to die to make it complete, he did what no human being is capable of. St. Bonaventure says that unless someone has sufficient blood in his heart and sufficient power in his lungs, it is impossible by nature's law that they would die and cry out at the same time. But Christ is omnipotent. He has the power to lay down his life and the power to take it up again. How are we as humans, as Christians, followers of his example, supposed to respond to that? Brothers and sisters, we do not choose when our work here is done and when to end our life. That is not a power that is given to us. But how often do we want things to be different? How often do we run away from suffering and pain? How difficult is it to love others who are different from us or who trespass against our ideals or our comfort zones? We do have opportunities to choose to die with Christ out of love in the work of salvation. In fact, we cannot obtain salvation except through obedience and death. Death to our limited will, death to our disobedience. We are called to give ourselves away. Dorothy Day said, "An act of love, a voluntary taking on oneself of some of the pains of the world, increases the courage and love and hope of all." We can begin by taking on the pains of the world that manifest inside of ourselves, voluntarily accepting the things or people that annoy us without retaliating. Walk through the pain of discomfort as we go out of our way to be kind to someone who is not easy for us to talk to or who trespasses against our ideals. Surrender our need to criticize or find fault by painfully holding back our tongue, and then do the often difficult work of opening our interior life to God and others who can help us heal and grow in love. Brothers and sisters, this will transform us. This will open doors. It will increase the courage, love, and hope of all. These little ways of dying each day is the way of our Savior. As Christ emptied himself out of obedience to that final moment of death on the cross, God was pleased. He greatly exalted him, that all of heaven and earth proclaimed him as Lord. As we choose to endure the pain and dying of self that comes with following his selfless act of love, we move toward the great communion with his Son that God promises to exalt in all of us.